St. Lucia, this is Openmike, and we are back to the fourth and final segment of our program. Our program today has moved rather swiftly because in my view it has been most interesting, and I hope St. Lucians are in fact enjoying what we're doing today. When we left off, we were talking about the VAT situation, and Everest was giving his take on it.
Yeah, we were also talking about, we have to look at government operations from two standpoints, from the revenue standpoint and of course the cost standpoint. And I share your views regarding the amount of money we spend on the foreign embassies and whether in fact it is bearing fruit. And it is a matter which has concern because I know these operations are very expensive. And I do not understand why there cannot be a collaborative effort among island states within OECS to have common missions. Yeah. They have it in some cases, they have it in Brussels, and they have it in Canada. But I think they should all have the joint representative in those various islands. And I mean, little islands that have no business having embassies all over the place. They just cannot afford it. Yeah. That model doesn't work, and I think they need to revisit it. Yeah. But sadly, I think very often it's been used for political patronage. Yeah. And at the cost of the taxpayer. But I think we should really seriously rethink the way we're doing this. I don't think it's bearing fruit. Yeah.
I share that view with you, but let us hope that the powers that be can, they say constant water wears away stone. So we continue talking about it, hopefully. Yeah. Now, the time has gone so quickly, Everest. I want to talk to you on another very important matter, and that is with the banking situation in St. Lucia. Sometime on Friday, I had either the pleasure or the displeasure, should I say, of visiting a bank in St. Lucia to assist a company, whereas $250,000 in cash would have been hypothecated to the bank for that company to get an overdraft facility. And being as cautious as I am always, I said to the young lady, "What is the rate of interest?" And she told me 16%.
Wow.
Well, Everest, I nearly fell backwards. I said to the lady, in a joke, I said, maybe I should call the police. She said, "What for?" I said, "Because there's been a robbery here." I said, "Because it reminds me so much of a schoolmate of mine called Sage, Seeley.
Yeah, I do.
Yes, I do. Who went to Halcyon before Sanders was there. And he liked his little grog. And he ordered a beer, and they gave him a bill for $5 at the time. And he started screaming and shouted, "Police! Police!" So the manager came and said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, there's been a robbery." He said, "Where?" He said, $5 for a beer. And that reminds me of that. But anyway, that having been said, I wanted to say to you that if an individual is prepared to put up $250,000 and they're charging 16%, what is going to happen to the underprivileged people in St. Lucia who are trying to start a business? I hope that the Prime Minister, the Minister of Finance, is listening to what I'm saying today, because this matter has to be investigated forthwith. Yeah. Because when one looks at the situation in St. Lucia, and we blame everybody for what is going on. I mean, and I can tell you, you know what resonated when I heard that? There was a certain development taking place here in St. Lucia. And my accountant said to me, he said, "Shas, you see that development is going to fail, and you and I will pay for it." I said, "In what way?" He said, "Because when it fails, the bank will put on a percentage point so that we can pay for it." And what has happened today, when I'm now saying, is that all these losses that took place in St. Lucia, the poor struggling St. Lucians are going to have to pay for it, which is so sad. Now, while we're on that, our banks, we all know the Bank of St. Lucia has gone through some turbulent times, okay, like all other banks, but but remember, it's just St. Lucia. And the Republic Bank in Trinidad, which owns 20% of this bank here, has been advocating for some time that they should have controlling interest of the bank because they could put more money into it. But there are people at the bank and other St. Lucians who felt, well, It's a sovereign bank. And though I accept that, but sometimes beggars are not choosers. At a situation like that, when funds are so limited in St. Lucia and the Republic Bank are flush with money, they have a fantastic reputation, I personally think they should be allowed to come in. But I've heard through the grapevine that by December, it's very possible that the Republic Bank could in fact get controlling interest of the Bank of St. Lucia. And if that happens, well, automatically they will control the St. Vincent National Bank, because St. Lucia owns 51% of it. Mr. Rav Gonzalez has not been happy about it. He has been making life a bit difficult for that man to take over. But I also heard, which was quite interesting, that the Republic Bank have controlling interest in Grenada. And the plan is that Grenada, St. Vincent, St. Lucia could be brought under one organization. And the Republic Bank has, I understand, if it goes through, some $2.5 billion EC dollars, which they could inject into our economy. Now, if my information is correct, I think that is that we should proceed in that direction. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm assuming this is public information.
Well, I don't know how public it is. I heard it, okay? Yeah.
I
don't think it's very public yet, but it's on the ground.
Okay.
But let us assume.
Well, I'm going on the assumption it is public information. I don't know differently. But it's clearly there are some issues with certain banks in St. Lucia. And there's perhaps need to recapitalize some of those banks, because they have made some very bad loans in the past, and some of them have reported very heavy losses. And to go back to the point you were making earlier about we end up paying for it. We do, you know. And I'm seeing a pattern developing among some of the banks of finding all sorts of ingenious ways of introducing new charges. I mean, one particular bank actually charges you for a large deposit. You can believe that?
Is that right?
They charge you for placing a large deposit. And I mean, I've yet to get a proper explanation for it. And these things come out very, I mean, surreptitiously. These things are just thrown on you like this. And it's a matter of concern, and I think that these banks need to be brought under control, because in a very difficult situation, you sometimes need the bank to assist to prop you up.
Yeah.
But I think perhaps the need for survival is creating more problems for the whole business community. And there needs to be some balance here. Regarding what you were talking about, Republic Bank, well, if there is money available to recapitalize some of those banks, to buff them up, so that they can go out there and start lending money, because the banks are not lending money.
They're not lending money. So how can the
which
economy
is undermining
grow?
the growth of the economy. And so if there is an opportunity to recapitalize some of those banks and get some money there, so that it could on-lend to the business community, so that at least get things going again, getting jobs created and people in work, nobody can shout against that.
Yeah, you know what worries me a lot, Everest? The fact that, everybody said 4 months ago, well, Scotiabank is holding its own. But you see now, they have just made an announcement, they're going to close 130 branches, okay? And they're going to lay off 1,800 people.
And this is the most successful bank, perhaps the most profitable bank in
There you go. So, but what has happened, I've also learned recently that, these banks like the Bank of Nova Scotia and Royal Bank, for instance, that had international branches in the US, are now cutting their ties with the international community because of they don't have enough surveillance over money laundering. And that America put some very heavy fines, and they're getting nervous. So they are cutting back. So what I'm told is that the Canadian banks are actually receding and going back to their home base to protect their banks, because they have so little influence of what is happening. And the thing is that dishonesty in the banking business is rampant, because people are very smart today. People are very computer savvy, and people penetrating your computers, coming to your bank accounts, and banks have to bear the brunt of all that. So I suppose they're looking at the fact that, hey, hold on a while, if we exposed to all those outward shocks there, that doesn't seem to be a good business. The same way you and I say, look, I ain't going into this business because there's too much leakage, They're doing the same. Now, it is their prerogative to do that, but by the same token, what is going to happen to the young people there, where we have 25% unemployment, and governments on the whole in the region are asking people to become entrepreneurs. How can a man start a business when he cannot get the money? When I'm telling you of a situation I had, how many people are in that position, and even though they were in a position to borrow, how can they survive at 16%?
No,
that is impossible.
Yeah,
And this is total madness.
That's exorbitant.
Yeah.
It's a way of saying I'm not lending you the money.
That's right. You're quite correct.
That's exorbitant. 16%.
And
you know, you have to put that in its wider context. You know? When you think of interest rates generally worldwide, it's so low. In some cases, zero.
But look at
and then we are supposed to be competing with the rest.
And when you go to Scotiabank or Royal Bank, they're giving you 0% on your money. So how the hell you can tell a person that you're going to borrow lending money at 16% when you're giving 0%? Yeah. Now, you know, at the same time, Everest, in life, we cannot lie down and play dead.
Yeah, true.
Because life has to go on. We have to think of what we're going to do to move this country forward. And, you know, the days when, you know, we had bananas, well, you know what happened to bananas. I still think there is room for the bananas, but not as it stands, because really and truly, the ordinary St. Lucian farmer does not want to spend that much time on the farm, you know. And I'm not saying I would do it tomorrow, but I'm telling you, there are people who can work in this country. I'm just saying, you know, if you had, for instance, some people willing to put their shoulder to the blade, the banana industry can survive. Because really and truly, most plantation owners will tell you that when they pay a man for 8 hours, all they get is 4 hours work a day. So if you're getting $50 a day, that means you're paying $100 a day, okay? Now, I mean, I was at a function recently, a seminar, and they were asking the question, what can we do to assist? And I brought up the point that there's still room for bananas. And one economist in the meeting said, oh, I kind of doubt that, because you're not going to get people going in this hot sun to plant bananas. I said, but let me ask you a question. Is the sun hotter in Ecuador as in St. Lucia? They're still producing, okay? And they're bringing in millions of dollars of foreign exchange. So I don't see it. But anyway, that having been said, let me state that what the lady said was correct. I have said repeatedly, you look at St. George's University, 6,000 students. Here in St. Lucia, we should be putting up a university for like 7,000 students, okay? I have spoken to the Taiwan Embassy. I have spoken to the Republic Bank about it. I think if there's a concerted effort with the government to come in and push for it, it is something that can happen, okay? Because you have, Taiwan is a educated country. You can get professors from there. They have the connections with the US. They can get the students down. Because right now it's $300,000 US a year it costs to put a child through school, you know? And it's getting more and more expensive. As a matter of fact, India, I just saw a program last week where the Indian government is now saying, look, we can put those courses online for 2 years and then let them just do 2 more years, let's say on a 4-year course. So you'll still at the end have a diploma or a degree from a recognized university instead of doing it online, you know. But Grenada has 6,000 students, Dominica has 1,500, Antigua has 800, and St. Kitts has 800. You have seen in St. Lucia a couple university, 30, 40. Spartan has 150, been there for 40 years. First of all, can you explain why our universities haven't grown, and should we pursue that?
Well, it's a model that seems to have worked for some countries, and the economic impact, if it is viable, is huge. You look at what is taking place in Grenada. I mean, if that university wasn't there, I don't know what Grenada would have done.
Correct.
And I think some effort has to be made. But, you know, I'm beginning to think that we're a bit late in the day now. We should have done that a long time ago. And, I mean, I remember a friend of mine was telling me about that we had the opportunity of the university that's now in Dominica. We had an opportunity for it to be established here. And we scoffed at it. And we lost it. But
I think not really, because people, you know, even though things are difficult in the world, education is key today. So people want to educate themselves. And I was just, when I was talking to the chairman of the Republic Bank, I was amazed to learn that right there in Trinidad, the former chairman of Neon Massey, Mr. Arthur Lockjack, in his own little way, has a school in Trinidad for 1,000 students.
Wow.
He's now opened one in Ghana, has opened one in Nicaragua. And the guy is next door. Why aren't we pursuing those things, you know? Yeah. St. Lucia, this has been a very interesting program, and I think we have come to the end of our period, and I want to thank Mr. Shamari immensely for being here today, taking his Saturday off to be with us. But it's a gentleman I've had a lot of respect for over the years, and I appreciate his contribution today. And I want to thank you so much, Everest, for being here today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.